So, welcome, Your Excellency, dear brother Ollie SPENCER, the Umaniterra Masonic Order, and our Grand Master, Dr. Ashley, Adrian, Father Williams, and all our brothers and sisters. We'd like to warmly welcome you to Romania.
Well, I'm glad to be here.
Your Excellency, the concept of the third millennium justice is deeply tied to our powerful symbol, the third pan balance, meaning the balance with three pans. What is your personal opinion on the necessity of this new perspective on justice for the world today?
Well, it's kind of hard to answer that because in America we don't mix politics with the laws. We keep it completely separate of that and of course religion. You know, it's up to each individual their own political beliefs and what they believe in. But what we do believe in is that no matter where you go, every brother is a brother. Doesn't matter what country it is, doesn't matter what Masonic obedience it is. That's what we believe in. And just like right now with Lebanon and Israel, well, we've got members in both. So we got members in Israel, we got members in Lebanon. And the members in Lebanon wanted to come over in August for our meeting, but they can't get a visa because of the conflict. So that hurts. You know, you got two countries at each other, but you got Masons who are in the military also. Then you got brothers who are being killed and stuff like that. And that's something that we can't stop it, but it hurts because when they get down to the line, they got to protect and they got to follow orders. So Freemasonry in, let's say, the 1700s was very political in Europe. Only the elite could become members of it. And matter of fact, like the UGLE, they still operate that way. You're not going to be Grand Master if you're not royalty. You'll be a provisional Grand Master, but you never get to be the Grand Master. You never get the 33rd degree. You only get the 32nd. The 33rd is reserved for royalty also. So these people back in them days, they used Freemasonry as a way to connect with other countries, and they used it politically. America didn't. When Freemasonry came to America, they didn't practice it political-wise. They just practiced it as Freemasonry. You know, they didn't go with a different war. I'm going to support this one like that. They stayed out of that. Now, if you, let's say, the Civil War or the Revolution, you have Masons on both sides of the line. You had some in the British, you had some in the Americas. Even like the Black Masons, when they first started during the Revolution, it was a Irish traveling lodge that was associated with the British regiment that invaded Boston. While they were there, some 13 black men got initiated. They got initiated during the Revolution. Okay, and after they pulled out, they told them, well, you cannot have a lodge meeting, which they couldn't because they were members of a traveling lodge out of Ireland. And after things kind of cooled down and they petitioned the White Grand Lodge in Boston for membership, and of course they denied them, you see. But the white Masons in America and the British were on two different sides. You see, they didn't come together and say, hey, let's not do this, because we all brothers. They had to fight. The Americans wanted their independence. The British wanted to keep them under their rule. Ireland helped them. So, but they have, in history in America, they have times when Masons on different sides had met each other and refused to kill each other. But that was just an individual. You know, they was, oh, let him go, he's a brother. You see. Or when they would invade their meeting halls like that, and they found out that this building that they were going into was actually a Masonic lodge, the Masons who were soldiers, they wouldn't destroy it. Even though it wasn't theirs, it was the enemy's. But as far as being a Mason, they gave it that much respect. You see. So Freemasonry in America operates different than different countries. And I tell all the members that when I travel different countries, I tell them, I say, it's different overseas than it is in America. In America, it's more like a club. Okay, that's what it turned it into. It started off that way. But a lot of the Masons now, just like, oh, this is a good thing to do, like a fraternity. And we try to teach them that it's not a fraternity, it's a way of living, it's a way of life. You know, a term I always use is that lodges have a lot of members, but they don't have a lot of Masons. So it's a difference to be a Mason and be a lodge member. As a Mason, you got to have it here. You have to live it, you got to preach it, you got to walk it, you got to act it. When people see you step out your door, out your home, they see something in you that's different. They don't see this gentleman, they don't see this neighbor. There's something different about him. When he goes to work, people notice something different. They may not know what it is, but then they find out, oh, he's a Mason. Then it all adds up. That's why he's different. The way he carries himself. A young lady asked me once, because I travel conversion van, and she said, all the Masons that I meet, they got nice cars, nice homes. Is it something that they get? I said, it's who you are around. I said, if you are around positive people, it's going to make you want to be positive. If you drive a broke down car and you get around people who have good cars, you're going to want a nice car too. If you don't have a nice home and you go visit some of your lodge members who have nice homes, you want a nice home. So it's association that makes you do better. The lodge don't give it to you. I had a young man came to me once, and we have a lodge member who owns his own nightclub. And a lot of the members, they would be there, they hang out. And he said, it's something that y'all have. I don't know what it is. I don't have it. He said, the brother, they treat me nice, they talk to me. He said, but when I'm with y'all, there's something different. Y'all got something, I don't have it. So he joined the lodge. Then he came back to me. He said, after I joined, now I have it. I know what it is. So unless you join, you'll never know what it is that Masons have. Even when you travel different countries, and because I've been greeted by many Masons, different countries, not at a meeting, like at the airports. You know, I was going home out of Rome, and two Masons came over to me. He said, so ladies over there? I said, so those are wives. They say, well, one of your brothers over there? He said, so we come to greet you. You know, that was that. We talked for a while, but they wanted to come and greet me because I was a brother. They were brothers. And I was at one airport and met another brother from another country. So two of us from different countries in another country. All we saw was a brother. And that's the way brotherhood is supposed to be. And that's one thing that I really love when I come overseas, is that that's what I get here. I don't get this rigmarole. I mean, every lodge in different countries got a little bit of this going on. Okay, that's normal. It's always been like that. from the beginning. So, but in America, it's worse. Yeah, it's worse. So it's worse in America. Yeah, they don't practice Freemasonry as they should. They talk it, but they don't practice it. My objective over the years has been to build a relationship with as many obediences that I can in different countries. Because in the past, our organization had that before the war. We had affiliation with different Grand Lodges. And a little bit of history, what makes it unique for us here in Romania. The first Grand Lodge of 1880 with Constantine. I mispronounced his last name, Morale, something like that, right? Okay. My Grand Lodge is the first black Grand Lodge in America that was set up by 3 chartered lodges. The first one. And that warrant came from Romania. Came from the Grand Lodge of 1880. And that's what's important with us. And we lost our paperwork years ago. And I wrote over here, I had people over here searching, trying to find records. So one day, Brother Allen, Grandmaster in France, he was in Italy. He said, if there's a convict going to be in Romania, you ought to go. So I said, give me information. So I contacted General Bartholomew. And I sent him a little write-up. Now, I have been trying to contact the other Romanian Grand Lodge. They never would answer me for years. They never answered me. So once I sent him a write-up on our history, the first thing he said was, I know about the warrant that my ancestor gave. I done found somebody that knows about it. And he said, what do you need? I said, we lost it. I need a replacement, a document to verify that we received it. And so 2017, when I came over here, he actually drew up a new one, certifying, that we were chartered by Romania. And our Masonic Congress, the Grand Lodge in that Congress, came under that healing. And I took it back, and that re-certified our history. A lot of the members over here didn't know about that. Even his members didn't know. So when they found out, and they came, they said, we didn't know we had brothers in America. I said, yes, it's a lot of them. Because my Grand Lodge, there are many, many AF and AM Grand Lodges that trace their history back to us. Even though we're in different congresses now, or different affiliations, but that lineage goes back. And so now that a lot of them brothers over here know about it, that makes it more better for Romania and the U.S. because Romania is where we got ours from. Like the Prince Hall, they got their charter from England. And that's what they keep telling everybody, we got charter from England. But here's what happened. When the white Grand Lodge in Boston wouldn't give them a charter, they got in contact with the Grand Lodge of England, not the UGLE, which is the first Grand Lodge, asked for a charter. And they gave them a charter for African Lodge 459. What they did, since nobody else would let their lodge join, they started setting up lodges with the one charter. So you can't set up a lodge with a lodge charter. But that's what they did. And then they declared themselves a Grand Lodge and was setting up other Grand Lodges off of that. You see. So in 1847, they was having problems with the different Grand Lodges they were setting up in Philadelphia. So they met in Boston, had a meeting, so let's start a national Grand Lodge for the U.S. and have authority over all the Grand Lodges that we done set up. Some went for it, some didn't. So then we had two separate ones. We had one called Independence, we had one called the Compacts. The Independents eventually became Ancient Free and Accepted Masons. In 1850, they formed Ancient Free and Accepted Masons of the United States of America, which evolved into the General Grand Masonic Congress that we have. The Compacts, they evolved into what's called the Prince Hall Masons, the initial PHA that called Prince Hall Affiliate. The sad part about them, they attack all other Masons. If you don't belong to them or mainstream now, since mainstream is recognizing some of them because of England, they talk about you. They did the same thing with General Bartholomew when he posted about the paperwork. They attacked him, and he wrote me about it. And I said, well, that's what I told you. That's what they do. They attack everybody. AF and AM don't attack people. We don't call people derogatory names. We don't use the term clandestine, bogus, spurious. If you see that written over there, that's them Prince Hall Masons. We don't do that. We teach our members, whenever you meet a Mason, you accept him and respect him as a Mason. You can't call him any other name. Just because he doesn't belong to your Grand Lodge or your lodge doesn't mean he's not a legitimate Mason. And we don't like to use the term legitimate or recognized, because when you say recognized, that means if I don't recognize you, that means something wrong with you. You see, that means you're not a Mason. You're illegal. No such thing. Because we're all separate, but Mason is a Mason. It's how he carries himself. Okay, that's what makes him a Mason. So we don't teach our members to go against other Masons. No matter who you meet, that's a brother. You treat him as such. I had one Mason ask me once, he was at the American Legion, and my members asked me, they said, can he visit our lodge? I said, yeah. And the guy said, no, I can't visit your lodge. I said, he was mainstream. I said, I know about your book of recognition. Because if you're not in their book of recognition, then they can't visit your lodge, you visit them. The same book that UGLE put out. I said, look, if we tell you, you can visit us, you can visit. But if we can't visit your lodge, you have a problem, not us. We ain't got a problem. You welcome. All we need is any brother can come to a meeting and say, I have a visitor. That's all. We don't ask for no paperwork. Nothing like, we had a brother come in once. He did. He said, I have a visitor. Came in, sat down. We said, welcome, have a seat. So during the opening, when they was going around picking up the password, he said, oh, I should have showed you my card. I said, we don't need your card. He vouched for you. That's all we need. He brought you in as a visitor. We don't need nothing else. You see? So this is the things that we do, and I'm just happy to be here. I look forward to the meeting with the convent they're going to have here. I don't know how many people are going to come, but I always have a good time. And it was always good to meet with other Grand Masters and get their perspectives on things like that, to see how things are going. What you find is that there's a brotherhood, even though it's invisible, you see. So like, I know there are several Grand Lodges here in Romania. It's about three or four that's in our Congress, United Congress. One of them actually was in my Masonic Congress, I think called New Enlightenment. I don't know if they still operating there, but Miss Ann Gross was the Grand Master back then. I met him through members in Israel. When Israel joined my Masonic Congress. And he contacted me. He said, I want to join too. You know. And every time I come over, he said, when you going to come and visit with us? I said, I'm here. But for some reason, you know how it is, if we don't associate with them, that type thing. And I'm like, I don't get in between. I don't get into that. You know, whatever this association, different Grand Lodges have, that's them. I don't get in between. I don't get involved in it. I don't get caught up in it. I don't take sides. You know, I had that in Brazil. I was setting up a meeting over there. Then I found out that two of the Grand Lodges, not far from each other, were meeting the same week. So I said, oh, I'm going to stay a few days. I'm going to visit with both of them. So the first one I was going to meet with, I asked them, I told them, I said, if they had a problem with me meeting with the other one, we don't recognize them. They got a problem. So guess what? I didn't go. Because I wasn't going to get in between their squad. I'm not going to do that. Because when I come, I'm welcoming with you, I'm welcoming with this group and that group. And that's a personal relationship that I have with each person, each Grand Law, each obedience. You know, I'm not going to come and visit with one, and they fight this one over here. I'm going to visit with them too. You know, now I'm being put in the middle of it, and they don't want you to take sides. You know, take our side. No, I ain't taking your side. I'm on everybody's side. You see, so I'm staying in the middle. And I think this is the one thing that General Bartholomew wants to do, is bring more Grand Lodges, more business together. You know, and there's quite a few different international groups out here now that are doing that, which to me, that's a good thing. You know, Freemasonry is too wide and too big for one. You can't have just one. You can't have just one group. You can't have just one international Masonic Federation. You can't have just one Grand Lodge in a jurisdiction. You know, that went out many years ago. That's where it started. Exclusive territory. You know, that's what they did in America. They started Freemasonry in America. They started out with exclusive territory, whereas they owned it. So if your Grand Lodge was in, I'm going to say Maryland, then no other Masonic group could operate within that state by their rule. They own the whole state. They said who can be a Mason, who can't be a Mason. And that's how they set up back in the colonial days. But you can't do that now. So you go outside, go around the corner, there's another Grand Lodge. You know, you go another mile, there's another Grand Lodge. You know, there's another Grand Lodge, like the state of New York got over 100 black Grand Lodges. And if each one of them was to trace their history, they all chop from each other. Like the Grand Lodge in Texas, my Grand Lodge in Texas in the 60s, they had over 200 lodges. Now, there's a whole lot of Grand Lodges there. You see, because I want to be in charge. Get 3 lodges, they break off to another Grand Lodge. And that's what happens in America all the time, among the AF and AM. You know, they're continuously splitting. Like some people say, well, Freemasonry is not growing. No, Freemasonry is growing, but the Freemasons are not sticking together. That's the difference. So you can't say it's not growing when you see last week another Grand Lodge popped up. This week another Grand Lodge came. There's talk of another Grand Lodge coming next week. So it's growing, but it's growing the wrong way. And that's what's been happening. they keep splitting up. If they were to join together, they'd be more stronger. So with the United General Grand Masonic Congress, that's the purpose of that. It doesn't take anything away from anybody. Nobody lose their authority. We have several Masonic congresses that actually came out of this Congress that I belong to. So we came up with an idea several years ago to come together and work together, which we already did. Like in DC, there's 2 other Grand Lodges in DC that came out of mine, and we have a good relationship. Then there's another Grand Lodge there, 2 more, so like 4. Got more than that now, but back then like it was 4. We all work together, attend each other's functions, support each other. So what I came up with was to form a united Congress, get the Masonic Congresses to come under one banner. They don't lose nothing. They still stay a Masonic Congress. They keep their Grand Lodges as their members. All the Grand Lodges are members of the United Congress, but they don't lose nothing. You see, but what it does, it brings us from this to this. You see, and then I reached out to different countries. I want more countries to come into it, to be an international Masonic Federation, but nobody lose anything. And somebody said, well, what's the purpose? What's good is? I said, well, when you travel, it's nice to be able to travel to another country. And you say, well, I'm going to Romania. Who can I call? I'm going to Italy. Who can I call? I'm going to Sicily. Who can I call? When they come to America, they calling somebody. Now, I've gotten requests from members who need a visa. And will you write the embassies? I get a visa to come to America to know my family. Sure. Well, see, and that gives us more togetherness. And when we can go, like in America, go from one state to another, and you meet another Mason, that's fine. But when you go to another country, that's better. Because then they will learn the true Freemasonry, the true meaning about the phrase, to work and travel in foreign countries. Then they'll learn what that phrase actually meant. To them it's just a scripture when they're reading their ritual or doing their opening, but they don't know what the real meaning of it is until they actually go someplace. And then they meet other Masons and they're approached by them and they get another feeling and they get treated different. They get treated as a Mason. Like I was in England, a young brother asked me, he said, you Prince Hall? I said, nope. AF and AM. Okay. I was into that. For the whole weekend, he was in my back pocket. Because all he cared about, you a brother. Okay, you ain't Prince Hall, but you still a brother. Because that's all they know. When they see a person of color, they automatically think, oh, that must be a Prince Hall Mason. No, we all ain't Prince Hall. You see. But it didn't matter to him. If I was Prince Hall, AF and AM, Scottish Rite, York Rite, all he saw was, this is a brother, he's here, I'm going to treat him like a brother, and I'm here with another organization that's practicing some Masonic work. So we're all there together, different countries, different obediences. Like one member said, you can't visit the meeting room because your Grand Lodge don't have recognition. And here's the difference. He don't say your Grand Lodge not recognized. That's America. He said your Grand Lodge don't have recognition. And that's because of the way England works, if you don't know. They only enter a mutual recognition with one Grand Lodge in a country. That's what they do. Except for America. America is set up different. That's why I like the Grand Lodge in Romania that had the recognition now with UGLE. they requested it before the 1880 Grand Lodge. But before the war, the Grand Lodge of 1880 had mutual recognition with the Grand Lodge of England. You see, so that's the difference. They don't say, I don't recognize you, you're a Mason. No. They recognize you as a Mason, but they don't have mutual recognition. So they're not going to visit your lodge and you visit them. That's all that is. You see, in America, first, well, you ain't recognized by England. And I asked the brother this. Tell them that England never denied you recognition. Did you ever ask for it? No. But if you never ask for it, how can somebody say you're not recognized if you don't ask for something? And why you have to be recognized? Recognized means they approve you or don't approve you. And who approved them? Go back into history. Okay, who authorized them to establish? Nobody. They established themselves. And people try to own Freemasonry by saying you're not recognized, you're not this, you're not that. It's not true. You're not a Mason if you're going out here robbing and stealing. Okay. You're not a Mason if you see somebody that's down and out and need help and you kick them to the curb. You're a Mason if you reach down and pick him up and help him. You know, that's the difference. So with these so-called recognition stuff, in England, it tells people that they don't go around saying you're not recognized. You just don't have recognition with us because we only do one Grand Lodge in the country. They're not saying the other Grand Lodges are not legit. I hate to use that word, but they're not saying that they're not legitimate. They're not true Masons. They don't practice Freemasonry. That's their rule. That's all that is. A for an AM. We write treaties now, because that's the going thing. People, hey, give me a treaty. I'll write you a treaty. But do we need one? No. We don't need a piece of paper that I sign, you sign, saying that we will fraternize with each other. All we gotta do is look at each other and say, hey brother, you come to my meeting. I'm having a conference, you're welcome to come and attend. I'm having a session, I invite you to come over to it. That's all we need. We don't have need a piece of paper. I've invited people to our Supreme sessions. They've come. Romania has came, Lebanon, a couple more. Come Italy. Don't need a piece of paper. Just say, we having our session, come over and visit. The same thing with other lodges, Grand Lodges in different countries. They're having theirs. They'll send an invitation. Only thing I tell them, I need it in advance. Because sometimes I'll get an invitation for next week. I'll be like, hey, I can't come next week. You know, I need something, far in advance. But, a few months. Then I got to do my schedule. Then, of course, plane tickets, rooms. Because getting a room in different countries is not like getting one at home. It's a little bit different. And, of course, the plane, the airfare. The earlier you can get the airfare, the less it'll cost you. The closer to the date, the more it's going to cost you. So you can get a ticket for $1,000, or you wait, it's going to cost you $2,000. Then let's say with the room, and they don't get rooms like we do. We'll book rooms at the hotel. We get a discount. So every member can book a room on our code, get a discount. But when you come to different countries, they don't have it. They don't have that. We pay the regular rate that they're paying. But that's okay. That's the way things are done. Everything's not done the same. So that's why I need invitation far in advance to make the planning, clear up something on my credit card like that. So when I make that trip, it's already paid for when I get here. They were like, they do like this whole. I just came in and he said, oh, we got it. They just charged my car and that's it. But I've already made arrangements for that. So I know it's going to cost me a couple thousand to come over. So I got that already set up so that it's not going to affect anything else that I'm doing. And that's the only thing about coming to different countries. You know, you got to get the information early. Same thing, if you come to America, you know, you got to have a few months to get it. And then like some countries, the visa, some need a visa, some you don't. Some keep changing the rule like that also. So you got to keep up on that. Luckily with the U.S. and Romania, it's no problem for us coming over here. You know, just go to passport control and give me a passport. Ask you the general questions, how long you going to be here, why you here. And like I said, I'm visiting. You visit somebody? I said, yes. I said, who? And I said, General Bartholomew Costin Savoy. Okay. That's all they want to know. You see? And you learn how to talk to passport control after a while. You see? I know I was in Israel, and same questions. Oh, I'm here to visit. You know people in Israel? I said, yeah. Who? I said, uh-oh. Climbing over is different. But I had on a Masonic baseball cap. I pointed to. I said, he said, okay. So then I tell my members, you go, tell me you're a tourist. That's a classification. Tourist, you see. And so you gotta be careful what you tell them. They're like, I have guys who will call me and say, I need a visa to come over to America. So I write them a letter inviting them to a meeting, and they go to the embassy. So like the 4 guys from Lebanon was coming, but the U.S. embassy in Lebanon wouldn't issue a visa, which I can understand, right? I didn't think they would anyway with the conflict. But one of their members has a Venezuelan visa, so I sent him a invite this week. So we'll see if he can get a visa to come over. But a few years ago, before they started this conflict, we had members from Lebanon come over. I wrote invite, sent it to the embassy. The embassy gave them a visa. They came on over, no problem at all. So that changes. I think what was it, United Kingdom, Europe, they got different classifications. They have some kind of visa you gotta apply for now. So I have that. I think it lasts so many years. So I have it on my cell phone, and it's tied to my passport. So when I go to a European country, they ask, "Do you have?" I say, "Yep." They pull it up. It's okay. But I read your website, and it's very interesting. Okay, the philosophy that's on there is interesting, but it's completely different philosophy than what we have in America. Yeah. Not saying there's anything wrong with it. There's nothing wrong with it. It's just that different philosophies, different things that people practice. You know, in America they may mention some of those things in some teachings. They just mention it, but they don't practice it. And so, like other members in different countries actually practice. Like the brother that picked me up at the airport, he started mentioning it. You know, you can't be a Mason unless you practice alchemy, this, and that. I'm like, okay, but that's their teaching. You know, our teaching doesn't go deep into that. It mainly sticks with the traditional Freemasonry, coming from the operative Freemasons, the teachings that came out of Egypt. That's what we do. You know, when it went from operative to speculative, take the working tools and apply lessons to it for your life. Learn how to live better. Take a man, make him a better man. Take a good man, make him a better man, like that. Teach him how to be a father, be a husband, take care of his family. Things like that's what we dwell on. The inner man, make him a better person. And that's the whole thing that we practice in America as far as being a Freemason, is to improve yourself, improve your family. If you improve yourself and your family, then you will improve your neighborhood and you will improve your community. You be a pillar in your community. You be somebody in your community that the neighbors look up to, somebody that the children look up to, somebody that the children will say, oh, you know, Mr. Jones, he was a Mason. You know, and they say with pride, you see, not Mr. Jones that's laying in the gutter. You see, if they say, oh, he's a Mason, that's a Mason. No. I had a guy once, before I retired, he came to me at the airport. He was kind of disturbed. He said, because he had read a book, some of the title of the book, it was called Freemasonry and the Islamic Connection, like that. The first thing I said was, nope. I say, because I read the book. I said, that's a Muslim who's trying to convince Masons to leave the Masons and join him. Because he downs the Masons. He downs the Masonic order. And so he said what bothered him was the things he read in it about Masons. And he said, I know you, Ollie, I know a few other men at the airport that are Masons. He said, and none of y'all are like that. Okay? So he looked at how we are. He said, no, the guys that I know who are Masons, I'm not like these people in this book. You know, he said that kind of bothered him. And after I told him what it was all about, then he understood better. That, no, that's just somebody that he's just trying to get people to join him. So you down Freemasons, you down the Masonic order, you put out false information about them, get them to discourage, and it works on some of them. Some of them, we've had members who just get rid of all their regalia, get rid of their patents, throw the rings away. Y'all devil worshippers. I'm like, there's no devil in any ritual that you ever read. Everything in the ritual leads back to God. Even your ring, that G, it ain't no D. It ain't no L for Lucifer, it's a G for God. Okay, so where you gonna get that from? I say, the average minister knows Freemasonry, even though some of them don't know they know it. Because if they know the Bible, they know Freemasonry. And in America, a lot of ministers are Freemasons. A lot of them. So are the judges too. A lot of the judges are like that, but they know the difference. So people are taught these untruths, about Freemasons. And I believe it's because they don't know what Freemasons actually is. You know, they secretive. Yeah, well, we're secretive. Well, you can pick up in the book and read it. With social media and with the internet now, you can Google anything on Freemasonry, get anything you want. And you might be able to read that ritual, but you won't understand it. You won't get the hidden meaning that's in it. You won't know what it means. Okay, and that's the difference. They read it, oh, they cut somebody's throat. No, they cut somebody's throat. They cut him in half. They cut his guts out, pull his heart out. No, we can pull my heart out. You know, it's a lesson. You know, they killed Harry Mayville. Read your Bible. Harry Mayville lived to be an old man. He didn't get killed. It's a lesson. But it's a lesson that we know, not them. So they misconstrued it. and they put out devil worshiping, and that's the biggest thing, the worshiping the devil. If you look at the altar and you see the Holy Bible or the book of your religion on there, how you gonna say that's how can you say it's devil worshiping when you ask who you put your faith in? God. Do you believe in God? Yes. If you say no, what happens? You go back out the door. You see? If you come and say, I'm an atheist, I'm sorry, you got to believe in God. No, can't be atheist. You can call him any name you want. Okay? But you have to. So, people will take that, run with it, and they'll leave the laws. They get brainwashed. You know, and we can't help that part. I mean, if somebody tell you something, you know, you believe it. We get members who leave because they listen to Prince Hall saying your Grand Lodge is bogus. They ain't got no charter. They ain't got this. And our history shows it that we have it. Couldn't prove it. Didn't have it. So we had tradition. So now, even though we have it, to prove it, they still don't believe it. One of the guys who had left us, I grew up and left my lodge. And he asked his butcher master about the warrant that the general gave us. What about that? Oh, it's bogus, it's clandestine, it's illegal. Yeah, that's what I thought. And before they left us, they would say, well, he never told us anything. I said, he never asked me for any history. The people that know me will tell you I'm always teaching. When I'm not teaching, you know, people say, hey, go ask them a question, and that's all you got to do to start off. You know, so if they want to know the history, I would have told, because I tell it to the members all the time. They get, so when you gonna finish that book? I said, I don't know. I keep telling you this over and over so it'll stick up here. He said, well, no, he knows the history. I have it up here. And that's what I keep telling you over and over. So you'll remember it. Yeah, I can put it on paper, give it to you. You might read it. You might stick it on the shelf somewhere. You know, but when you learn it, you know. So I keep repeating it. Every so often I give a lecture on. When we're talking, there people ask questions about it. So I'll tell them about it. That way they can know about it. And you know, Brother Spencer taught us that we got our paperwork from Romania and this is where we are. Okay. Do we have it? Yes. We have a replacement. Where is it? He have it. We have copies of it. You see. And Brother Matham, you know, he's a character. You know, he's a character. I like him a lot. I have the utmost respect for him. But I tell my member, I say he's a general. I say, and he's still a general. That's what you mean. I say he's still a general. I say that general is not leaving. So when you see him and you talk to him, and all of a sudden something to hit him, and he'll flip over into that general mode. You know, I say, but that's just him. And you have to realize what Romania went through. Everybody forgot it. And it's not something that happened 300 years ago. Okay. You know, Romania was under communism for a long time. And this is why it affects him the way it does. Because he had to fight through that. You know, and he ain't gonna just forget about it. Because history repeats itself. You let your guards down, it'll come back on you again. And when the Germans came through Romania and other countries, as you know the history, they were killing Masons. You they killed them. They went to the lodges, burnt the lodges down, burnt the libraries, burnt every book they could find. They had to go underground. Like one brother gave me the forget-me-not. You know what this is? I said, I know what that is. A forget-me-not. I know what it is. I learned that a long time ago. I've been in the law 52 years. I said, I learned that what-me-not a long time ago. I know the meaning of it. And what the brothers went through. They had to go into hiding to hide who they were, what they were, to avoid being persecuted, being hung, being shot, all because of their belief. And the belief had nothing to do with the war, had nothing to do with communism, had nothing to do with taking over, but they didn't want anybody belonging to a group that could effect change. And that's why they went against the Masons. Same reason why the Pope went against the Masons. Like people ask, how come the Catholics can't be a Mason? I said, Catholics can be a Mason. They can join. The church may not like it. I said, the Pope issued a bull that Catholics could not be a Mason. They said, well, why? I said, because when the Jesuits were going out, converting people, when they met Masons, they got converted and joined the Masons. So Jesuits were joining the Masons, and the Pope didn't like that. So now, what do they have today? Knights of Columbus. We have Masonic Knights Templar. In different countries, you got Knight Orders. So the Catholic Church got Knights of Columbus. Gave their members a fraternity of a sort, so they won't join another one. Why join the Masons? Because we have Knights of Columbus. You see, one of my good friends, we worked together many years, and he joined Knights of Columbus. Oh, I teased him about it. I said, "You traitor! Come on, Ollie. Man, you're supposed to join my lodge. Come on, man. You know I had to join. I can't join you. I had to join Knights of Columbus." I'm like, "Yeah, I know. I'm still gonna mess with you though." So that's neat, because that's the Catholic Church. Some of them they find out, they'll excommunicate you, put you out. But maybe one day that'll change. You never know. Might get a pope in there one day who will look at things realistically and actually look at what the Masonic order is, not what they thought it was. The same as people ask me about why I'm so true to lodges. And it's something that I learned when I first came in. I say, I love Freemasonry for what it's supposed to be, not what it is. It's not what it is, it's not what it's supposed to be. And I love what it's supposed to be. And that's what keeps me going. That's what keeps me fighting to bring about a change to make it better. Okay? Because I know the true meaning of it. Okay? I'm not going to be just a card-carrying Mason, or a ring-wearing Mason. Hey, I got a ring on. I'm this. No. It's here. You see? So when people learn and practice it, and they stay in the order for decades, their life has changed. Okay, they're not just a member. Okay, it's a difference between a member and an actual Mason. It's a big difference. A member will pay his dues. A member might come to the meetings, okay? But a Mason is going to be there no matter what. Behind the scenes, out in the community. You can do community work. It's easy to just make a donation, go in your pocket, put some money out there. That's easy. But get out there and do the work. be with the people that need help. That's the difference. Than just, well, I'm a member. I've been a member for, I've been a member for 20 years. Okay. When have you done? Well, I didn't want to be an officer. No. Didn't want to be an officer. And every lodge got officers who are just symbolic. Not really doing too much, unless it's degree work. And a lot of the lodges have a degree team. No, but that, people say, I know they gave us some awards one year, 30 years, stuff like that. And they call one guy, I say, who was he? Yeah, he been a Harvard for so many years. If I'm saying who is he, and I've been in the lodge 50 years, and I don't know who he is, something wrong. Because if he's been active, attending all the meetings, taking part in all the activities, I would know who he is. He's just been on the books. You know, sent his dues in. Or they say, well, you know, he was a truck driver, he's always traveling. He ain't traveling all the time. We had truck drivers come home, they come to a meeting. Okay. And we knew who they were. So I said, this is like the term Methuselah. They said, Methuselah, they said, yeah, he lived 90-something years old. I said, yeah, he did. Jesus lived 33 years. Look what he did. What did Methuselah do? He lived so many years, but what did he do? You know, and that's the difference with members being in the lodge for so many years, but they don't do anything. It's not just come to a meeting. It's not just pay your dues. What about visiting the sick? You got a brother who needs help. What about that? We got members who are inactive. But if they find out somebody need help, they're the first one that'll come. So he ain't been to a meeting in years. Haven't paid no dues. He's inactive. But he never left it here. He never lost it there. So if somebody, in the first, a word goes out, somebody needs help. We call him Rambo. He's the first one that'll answer. I'll help him. Where's he at? What do he need? The first one. The ones that are paying dues, so-called come to the meeting, they sit back and ain't saying too much. That's a member. He's a Mason. Even though he's not active, but he's still a Mason. You know. And so, what can we do to improve it? I don't know. I really don't. Because today's society is different. Society is moving fast-paced. What's in style, what's the click today, next week is old, is outdated. And the same thing with the members we trying to get. Even though we say, well, we need some younger members, which we do. That's the future. But these younger members, their lifestyle is a lot faster than mine was when I was young. Okay, whole big difference. And as it was with the members before me, when I became Grand Master, I was 29. And my Grand Matron, she was like my grandmother. Okay, loved her. They loved me. She called me her son. And here come my son. So, and her husband, Brother Floyd, he was a past Grand Master, older gentleman. So I went to the house one day and met with him. And I said, you know what our problem is? He said, we got a problem. I said, no, we got a problem. You know what this is? What? Generation. I said, you are like my grandparents. There's a generational gap here. That's why we be clashing. It had nothing to do with not loving each other, because I love them, they love me. But we clash because they were still in the 1800s and I'm in the 1900s. It's a difference. It's the same as we have today with the younger generation who are joining. You know, they got AI, all this other fancy computer stuff that we know nothing about. Okay? But that's their lifestyle now. So we have to adapt, and Freemasonry does not like to adapt to modern. Freemasonry wants to keep everything old. Freemasons want to tell people, well, we've been doing it this way for the last so many years. Y'all want to change things. Do they want to change things, or do they want to modernize? That's the difference. The younger people want to modernize, but it doesn't fit with the old traditions that has been in the lodges forever. And then they start clashing with that. So the younger members don't want to stay in, because they don't want to be a member of the organization that's stuck in the old ways. You know, they're more progressive, but it may not work the way they think it works. But we have to have a medium. We got to come together. You know, the old members and the young members got to come together. The old members got to teach the young members. The young members have to be able to want to learn. So we got two problems. A lot of the old members don't want to teach. Or they can't teach. A lot of the younger members don't want to listen. And that's the biggest problem you have with the younger members. They do not want to listen. They don't want you to tell them anything. They want to come in and take over. They want to come in, be the ritual master. They want to come in, be the grand master. They want to be the high priest, even the commander-in-chief. They don't know anything about the department. They don't know how to operate a Blue Lodge. You know, they never sat in as a warden, but they want to be the ritual master. Never been a ritual master, but they want to be the grand master. Never been a line officer in the Grand Lodge, but they want to run the Grand Lodge. And this is the problem that we have. They want it all, but they don't want to earn it. They don't want to learn it. And learning is the hard part. Because to earn it, you have to learn it. If you don't learn it, then you cannot operate. You cannot preside. You can't operate a Masonic order in a department if you don't learn the basics first. So if you never learned it, if you get in charge, that department can't succeed. Because you're going to have your older members coming at you telling you that you're doing something wrong. And you be like, well, I'm in charge. This is what I want. I do what I want to do. You know, Freemasonry don't work that way. Everybody answers to somebody. With the Grand Master, that's nobody. Yes, he do. The Grand Master answers to the Grand Lodge. Yeah, but no. When the Grand Lodge is not in session, the Grand Master acts as the Grand Lodge with his power and authority. Then in America, the Grand Lodge meets every 3 months. Anything he does during those 3 months, he's supposed to make a report to the Grand Lodge. The Grand Lodge can approve it or disapprove it. If certain things come up, then he's supposed to have the knowledge to contact his board, which would be his deputy, the senior junior warden, like that. Maybe call a meeting with the masters, you know, to take care of some business, and not just arbitrarily do it all on his own. And that's what some of them do. They won't talk to anybody. They just do it all on their own. This is what I'm gonna do, and that's it. And then when they're told you couldn't do that, well, I'm the Grand Master. Yeah, but everybody got rules to go by. see. And so with our younger members, we have them all the time. They don't want to learn. They read the bylaws, don't understand what they want to do is they want to change it. Not understanding that bylaws are written in a certain way for a certain purpose. You may not understand it, but the people that wrote it understood it. And people who approved it understood it. So if you don't understand it, you just need to take time to talk with somebody to learn what it means and why it was put in that certain way. Now maybe it's not effective today. Maybe it's outdated. That happens. That's why bylaws are revisited every so often to bring up to date. There are things that's in it that's not applicable no more. So you change it. Or there are things in it that needs to be, the dues might be $5. Oh, we got to change that. You see, like that. And we might want to meet on a different day. So you want to change it. You might want to change the death benefit or the sick benefit. You know, things like that. You might want to come up with a different charity program. Or just things you might want to update. You know, the dress code. You know, winter dress, summer dress, spring dress. How you dress when you come to a meeting. How you dress when you go to a function. How you dress when you go to a funeral. Things like that. So you might want to update your bylaws. Okay? But you don't just say, I want to change them. And this is what a lot of the new members will do because they read it. I want to change the bylaws. You know? Or another big problem with bylaws is the person that just got elected. I want to put on a bylaws committee. Why? I want to change the bylaws. You got to change the bylaws just because you got elected. You know, I put on a bylaws committee, jurisprudence committee, to go over the bylaws and see if anything needs to be changed. You know, that's your regular procedure. Review the bylaws. There's nothing wrong with reviewing them, but there's a problem when you say, I want to change them. So it's not the lodge that want to make a change. The individual wants to make a change. They want to change the rules to go along with what they want. So they can do something that they want to do, or let's just say get away with it. But they can't do it along the bylaws stay the way they are. So they form a committee to come back and reword it the way they want it. He wants it. Get people to vote on and approve it, then he changes it. Then the next guy coming off, he want to change it again. So that doesn't do us any good. People keep changing bylaws. You know, revisit it. You know, say, hey, the committee came back, we see no changes need to be made, and that's it. But, you got any questions?
Yes.
Okay.
Very interesting wisdom you share with us. What about the future of Freemasonry in the USA? Looking forward, how do you see the future of Freemasonry in the United States of America? What are the main challenges and opportunities ahead?
Well, I look for Freemasonry to stay in America. Freemasonry is ingrained. Okay, you cannot go anywhere in America and not see another Mason. I don't care what state you go in, what city you go in, you go find Freemasons. America is full of Masons. And Freemasonry, the way it is now, it may not be practiced the best way, but it's not going anywhere. You know, Freemasonry has a foothold in America. I mean, and that's white, black, Spanish, Hispanic, it doesn't matter which denomination it is, it's there. Okay, and they practice it heavy. It's big. I mean, if all the Freemasons in America work together, it'd be powerful. I mean, you talking about something being powerful, it would. But other than that, no. Freemasonry not going anywhere. What I would hope is that people would get out of not want to fraternize with each other. Get out of, I want to be the guy in charge. That's the biggest thing. I want to be in charge. Brother Joe run for Grand Master. He don't get it. So he get people who supports him. They break off and start another Grand Lodge. Okay. So now you got a smaller Grand Lodge and a smaller Grand Lodge. Okay. So you got a whole bunch of Grand Lodges, but they're small. Whereas if they were just together, then they'd be stronger. But they want to be the guy in charge, so they keep splitting up. That's the biggest problem with Freemasonry in America, is that part, splitting up. None of all the jurisdictions, when you talk to them, they'll say they're losing members, which they are, but not to the point where Freemasonry is dying. They just don't have as many members as they used to have. Like the mainstream Masons, they don't have as many members as they used to have. But as far as we're concerned, they still outnumber everybody else. You see, but by their standard, see, and that's the whole difference. Their standard is their membership is local. They have a high standard. Okay, and once their standard is no longer met, then they see that they are dying. That's how they look at it. If their lodge, let's say if their lodge had 1,500 members in it, the Blue Lodge, and now their Blue Lodge got 800 members in it, the way they see it, we dying. We only got 800 members. We had 1,500. We had 2,000 members back in the 50s. We had 3,500 members. Now we got 800. We're dying. Because other jurisdictions don't have the 800. You see, and they're like, I wish I had 800. So it's the perception that each one has. Okay, so their perception is the ordinance is going down, but they make changes to get the membership back up. And this is what they work with. They have conferences on that, on membership. How can we get our membership up? What can we do to keep the members in? You can get people to join, but you can't keep them. You see, so they make changes on that. They make changes on how they give degrees. Okay, well, we're going to make somebody wait so many years. We're going to get them in, get them on up here. We're going to have these special degree weekends. You know, I've seen one Grand Lodge, mainstream. We had a weekend. You come in, we won't do it. But this one Grand Lodge did it. You come in as a first degree. And when the weekend is over with, you are 32nd. You're like, what? Yeah, I mean, 1, 2, 3, up New York right, came back down, went up Scottish right. But that's what they did to get their membership. You see, because their membership was dwindling, so they came up with that. We got to do something to get our membership up. Might not be the best way, but that's what they did. They've even gone as far as doing video degrees. The Supreme Councils, you're Master Mason, so you go to a law perfection and you get the 4th degree. After you get that 4th degree, then they have a special session where the member just sits and watches video. When the video's over with, they got it. You see? But that's the change they made. Because they're saying, well, we're losing members, we're not growing, so we got to do something to get people in and get them to stay. So that's what they did. They changed how they do the shrine degree. Because to get the shrine, that's the guy to wear with the fez, with the scimitar and crescent. Well, you had to be a Knights Templar or a 32nd in order to get that, to join it. In ours, you had to be both. Because we practiced York Rite and Scottish Rite, and some of us practiced the primitive Rite too. So to be a noble, you had to have the Knights Templar and the 32nd to get it. So what the mainstream Masons did, they changed their rule. All you gotta be is a Master Mason. Okay? Get that 3rd degree, become a Shriner. Where in the past, it was the shrine that helped keep the other departments' membership full. Because if you want to stay in the shrine, you had to stay in the Royal Lodge, you had to stay in the Knights Templar, you had to stay in the consistory. But now you don't have to stay in those, you don't have to join them. You see, the only department that benefited was the shrine. Oh, we growing, but you ain't helping other departments grow. So that's why we keep ours like it is. You won't be in the shrine, then you got to stay in good standing with the other houses too. Because each one supports each other. You can't be a Knights Templar if you're not in the Royal Lodge. You know, that's the way it is. So you ain't gonna be in the shrine and don't be in the Knights Templar, don't be in the consistory. You got to be in those too. Don't be in them, you're out. So that helps the jurisdiction stay together. That helps the Grand Lodge. But the shrine is all its members from the Grand Lodge. And the Grand Lodge keep its members because they want to be in the shrine. You see? So one hand washes the other. But the way they did it, they just wiped out 3 departments. You know, you ain't gotta be a member of that. You don't have to join, you don't have to be a York Rite, be Scottish Rite. You see? So you ain't gotta be a Royal Lodge or a Knights Templar, you just go Scottish Rite. You ain't gotta be a Scottish Rite, be York Rite, you can go York Rite. So their department are not working with each other to support each other. We do it different. And we know York Rite and Scottish Rite is separate. But we do it this way so that our York Rite don't fail and our Scottish Rite don't fail. Because what would happen is that it's very simple. People look at numbers. I'm a 3rd degree. If I go York Rite, I'm going up to 7. But if I go Scottish Rite, I'm going to go 32. You see, I'm a 32nd degree Mason. I'm going to go Law of Perfection. I'm going to go Rose Cross, make the dot on 32nd. So that's where they're going to go. Because there's a number game. You know, the numbers sound impressive. Well, I'm a 32nd, I'm a 33rd. Okay. But I asked the guy one. I asked him to do a lecture. Who's the highest? A Knights Templar or Sublime Prince? They're black. Sublime Prince, he's 32nd. He dies. They're equal. Because that's the highest. In the York Rite, that's the highest. In the Scottish Rite, they're equals. And I said, who's the highest? The most eminent Grand Master of Knights Templar or the most Putin Sovereign Grand Commander, Scottish Rite? Oh, the Sovereign, he's the highest. No, he's not. They're equal. He's over the York Rite. He's over the Scottish Rite. Scottish Rite has no authority in New York, right? You see, so it's a number game. And so we try to work ours. Each department supports each other. We've lost so many members and with so many splits, you know, with all the different congresses and all the different Masonic that they had to keep the membership up. You know, if you're large enough, you can do that. You can tell people you go either way. Retired, and he said he was Prince Hall. He said, "Oh, I'm thinking about going Scottish Rite, Master Mason." I said, "Scottish Rite? Yeah. Don't go Scottish Rite. I said, go York Rite." Why? I say because right now you're in the unfinished sanctuary. You haven't built anything yet. You got to go York Rite. You got to finish building the temple. Then you got to tear it down. Then you got to rebuild it again. So you're not a true Master Mason yet. So you got to go York Rite. Then go Scottish Rite. Just again. Because the Scottish Rite's not going to make him a actual Master Mason. You know, as a third degree in the Blue Lodge, he's just a virtual Master Mason. He got the full third degree. I said that's why they tell him, you know, I give you a substitute word. If you a real Master Mason, you got the word. And I tell the guy, I say, when you was playing Ham Abel, you got beat up because you didn't have the word. I said, if you had it, you got beat up. If the Ruffins had it, they wouldn't have been trying to get it. You see, that's the on independent fellowcraft. So you have to go into the Royal Lodge, starting off and get that past master's degree, where they sit you in the east and take you back down. Now you're a Master Mason, but you're not a actual past master. Now you're just a virtual past master. You're not an actual past master till you get elected and serve a term as a Master Mason, to be a virtual master. So you got to go York Rite. You're not going to learn that going through the Scottish Rite. You're going to go through those degrees and into the knighthood, and that's all you're going to do. But you're not going to learn or become actual Master Mason. Excuse me. So after he thought about it, and he came back to me later and said, "I'm going York Rite." Yeah. So that made sense. I'm going York Rite, then I'm going Scottish Rite. Yep, that's where it goes. All he saw was a big number. And that's why the Scottish Rite is the way it is in America. Because it came there with 25 degrees and they got a hold to it and added 8 more to it and sent it back out and took control of it. You know, saying this is the Mother Supreme Council. How can you be the mother when you took something somebody else gave you and changed it and sent it back out? That's what they did. Yeah. All right, what's your next one?
So, Freemasonry relies on ancient landmarks, but time changes.
Mm-hmm.
What is your opinion on potential updates of the Constitution regarding the traditional requirement of being born free for initiation, considering that today we are all naturally born free?
Well, look at when that was written and by who and why. Because when the Grand Lodge of England formed, they didn't have any rules. You see, they just, 4 lodges got together at a tavern and said, hey, let's start this new organization called the Grand Lodge, and we're going to take authority over all the lodges. And then sent out an invitation for all lodges to join. All lodges didn't join. Some joined, some didn't. So since they didn't join, the Grand Lodge of England said, we don't recognize them. That's where that came from. We don't recognize them. So then they had the Constitution written up because they had no rules. And that's what came up when it was written. It must be freeborn male, you see. So why would it say male? That time period, as we know, women were not looked upon very highly. Okay, not when it came to authority, anything like that. You know, women would just stay home, barefoot and pregnant. Take care of the kids, wash the clothes and cook. That was it. Okay, so they would have them in the lodges, and it had to be freeborn because they were switching from operative to speculative, even though some of them were both. When they set up, they had operative and speculative when they set up the Grand Lodge, but the speculatives were all people of high esteem. They weren't your average everyday person, you see. So that's who they were. So that's why they put that in there to keep it that way. That's why the Grand Lodge of England operates the way it operates, with dukes and the earls, princes, people like that in high positions. They never could get out of that. They make you a provisional Grand Lodge, you know, make you a provisional Grand Master. That's why they got so many lodges in membership, because they charter Grand Lodge, what they call them provisional Grand Lodges. In America, we don't have that. Well, we got a group that does that. It's called the Modern Free does it. They have a national body that charters their Grand Lodges. And National Supreme Council don't have Grand Lodges. They have what's called a Council of Deliberation. They call it Grand Council. And they have a Grand Deputy that's over that. And that's who issues charters for the Independent Philocrats and Master Mason. Then they practice from the 4th to the 33rd. And that bylaw strictly forbid Grand Lodges. So I told the guy, well, I said, you want to start some trouble? Form a Grand Lodge. He said, why that called trouble? Why? What kind of trouble? I said, if you're a Grand Lodge, they can't tell you what to do. You're a sovereign body. That's why your bylaws say no Grand Lodges. I said, and if you're a deputy, all deputies are under somebody. So all your councils are under your sovereign. Every jurisdiction. You have nobody in your jurisdiction that's in charge. He's the deputy. You may elect him, but as long as he got that title, deputy, that's what he is. So when they wrote them up in such a way that they made a clause that at least not be changed. So that means that once it was written, it can't be changed. Now, what does that have to do with your Grand Lodge? Nothing. Because they wrote that up to govern themselves. And at that time, they were the only one. They just started. What other lodges did, they adopted what they wrote. They adopted somebody else's constitution. Instead of writing up their own, They adopted that. And then it got to the point where people actually believe that it's Masonic law. If you don't go by the ancient landmark, whose ancient landmarks? They're not the ancient landmarks, because the ancient landmarks were written by the operative Masons. That's who wrote the original landmarks. The landmarks that Grand of England wrote was for the speculatives. It wasn't for Freemasonry. No. And the operative landmarks can't be practiced in Freemasonry because it dealt with operative Freemasons. But it did tell them how to live, the rules and regulations. A lot of it was adopted by the speculatives, and what they did was they changed wording in it to fit their purpose. You see, even when you go back to 926 in York, England, when they was operating there, and they had they wrote a Rega's poem, which is supposed to be like the first Masonic document and rules that was written up. It's written up like a poem, but it's actually a Masonic document that tells what you can do, what you can't do. But it was operative Masons. So in order to be a Mason, to join the Masons, you had to be a Mason. So some people don't understand that. Well, they were operatives. So you joined as an apprentice. And you went through your apprenticeship for so many years. And then you went to the fellow craft. Now that's the top. Once you became a fellow of the craft, you had different levels of the fellow craft. Different ones that did different work. They had different specialties. And the master he was a fellow craft who was elected over the lodge. He wasn't a master mason. He was a master of masons. You see. So when they changed and had opposite and speculative, they changed the rule, they changed their constitution, and to make it more in line with what they wanted to do. Because they wasn't. See, the Grand Lodge of England tried to hold authority over all the lodges, which they couldn't, because the lodges were operative Masons. Okay. The Grand Lodge of England wanted authority over them also, and they wouldn't agree to it. And they didn't have to. So when other countries found out, because these Masons, they travel country to country, and they like, yeah, it's the same thing. Ireland, Scotland, like that. They set up Grand Lodges, okay, for operative, going to speculative. Then the Grand Lodge of England, so we don't recognize them. We ain't set them up. We ain't got nothing to do with them. Well, if these were operative Masons, if an operative Mason came into England, they couldn't get any work because they didn't belong to the Grand Lodge. See? So, it doesn't need to change. Updated, yes. The basics are good, but it needs to be updated. I had a conversation with a guy this week. I think it was yesterday, before. I'm getting my days mixed up because I'm traveling. But Tuesday. I got called my house. I had to give him some keys to his building. And he belonged to another Masonic order. But he lives around the corner from me, and his wife belongs to mine. So he's always come over to my house, to get some information, to learn something. And we was talking about the changes in Freemasonry as far as the ladies go. He said because his wife saw some lady Masons, and she asked about that. He said, get used to it, because they're here. Because they opened up female masonry in D.C., where I live at. They had one in the country years back, but they wasn't that big. They were there. I said, but one of the ladies from over, I think maybe from England, came over and set them up. So I was telling him, I said, you got some Grand Lodges is strictly female. You got some that's mixed. So he said, mixed me, they just all the same. I said, yep. I said, but I'm gonna tell you something. They sharp. I watch them. They do their floor work. They learn. I said, the lady Freemasons over there in England, it take them 7 years. What? I said, yeah. I said, it's a ceremony and a program put on when they go from inner apprentice to fellowcraft. They go through a big ceremony for that. You see, I say they have to prove themselves. But with us, you come up this month, get a degree, come back next month, get the next one, come back next month. Here's your ritual, hope you read it. You see, I say they don't do that. So it's a difference. The same thing with the Grand Lodge of England. Them brothers, it take them years before they get to be a third degree. But the difference, see, in America, when you cannot participate in a lodge until you have the third degree. Other countries, you participate as an apprentice. You see, they come out with the apron turned up. They're in the program, they're in the marches and everything else. They attend meetings. You see, open up on the first degree. And then go to the second or third when they're doing degree work. You see, but with us, it's the opposite. You have to be a third degree. We open them the third degree, and then we close and go down to the second and first to do degree work, and then close it and go back up to the third degree. So, as long as he's in a fellowcraft, the only thing he really can do is come out to the school of instruction, and get some training, but he can't attend any meetings. Where these other guys, different countries, they actually attend meetings every month. When the lodge meet, they attend meetings, they're learning, they're participating. They may be a first degree, but they're active. So it's a difference. It's them taking so long to get the third degree. You see, but with us, once you get the third degree, well, then they got to come back, and next time you go to the Royal Lodge, and you got to go on to get the Knights Templar, and you got to go Scottish Rite. Well, these guys, when they get third degree, they like, that's all I need now, because they get the true third degree. America only gives the virtual third degree. You get the virtual, you're a virtual Master Mason. You're not an actual Master Mason until you actually go to the Royal Lodge. And that's when you get to be an actual Master Mason. So with that, these changes are coming. Transgender, I spoke about that. That's going to have to be addressed one day. Yes, you say freeborn male. Okay. England passed a rule. A brother transformed. He's still a Master Mason. He's still a brother. Okay. You didn't cut it off. You didn't pumped him up. But he was born a male. That's the difference. One of our members, his sister, transformed. Took hormone shots, she got a little beard, had her breast removed, dressed like a man. Good people. So she asked her brother, can I join the lodge now? So he called me. I said, nope. Got nothing against her, her/him. But nope. Because we know. and that she could never join the shrine. Because in the shrine, you have to get totally nude in that degree. And that's to prove that you're male. You're part of that degree, you have to actually prove that you're male. And that would be, so she never would become that. But she comes up with everything we do. Because her mother's a member. Her mother's been a member for years. Then her mother's father, he was a member for years, but he died. So the mother, her son, he joined. Good guy, working hard. But her sister wanted to be a member. If she had stayed like she was and joined the Eastern Stars, been different. And if she did join Eastern Stars, she would have to wear a dress, and she don't wear dresses. There's another young lady, like that, asked about to join us. I go to talk to one of the matrons. I said, but I told the matron, make sure you tell her she has to wear a dress to the meetings. Okay? So she told her that. She said, oh, that's out. But she don't wear dresses. She wear men's shoes. She dressed like a guy. Good people, but that's her life. You see, so she's not gonna wear a dress. And we do have a lady that's like that, but she wears dresses. So her and her girlfriend are members. If you didn't know it, you wouldn't know it. But we know them, so we know they're a couple. But she doesn't dress like a man. She dresses like a woman. She wears the regular regalia, the dresses, everything else. And so we have other members, different jurisdictions that are like that. They wear dresses at the meeting, but when they're out the meeting, they put on what they want to wear. You see, and that's what she could do. But some of these people, I'm not wearing no dresses, period. So other than that, we can't have them unless the ladies change their dress code from dresses to pantsuits. If they say, well, you can wear a white pantsuit, that would change. It would open up the door for some of those who don't want to wear a dress. But right now, they're going to keep it that way. So they're going changes want to come. When I always knew about female Masons. That was nothing new to me. I just never met none. So one year when I was I think it's called Vicaria in Italy, at that International Federation meeting, and we were forming up. Now look, I saw these ladies, and they started putting on regalia. I'm like, uh-oh. These are female Masons. Shoot. Okay. And I did my role, got introduced, marched out. A proud moment that when they introduced me, all the Grand Masters were lined up, and I came down the aisle with they had the American flag and playing the national anthem. I said, I'm representing America, not my organization. And after the program, one of the young ladies came to me, one of the little lady Masons, and she said, can I take a picture with you? I said, sure, come on. So she took a picture, and then she ran up the steps. She said, I'm going to put this on Facebook. I took a picture of Ollie SPENCER. I'm on Facebook. And one of the guys from another order saw her, and he asked me, what's that? And I said, she's a member. And he said, that's not a good look. I ain't paying no mind. Okay. And in that same conference, there was a young lady from Mexico who was the Grand Master. And a lot of the guys didn't talk to her. You can see it. They just shunned her. So she came to me and she asked me if I would visit her in Mexico. I said, sure, I'll visit you. I never got an invitation. So I never had to decline, you see. And so when I came back home and we had our session in our Grand Masters meeting, I asked them, how are we going to handle this in the future? And I said, what are we going to do when I travel and they're Lady Masons? Because in America, they don't accept Lady Masons. So, and I explained what I saw, how they treated me, everything else. And so what we came up with, and I kind of suggested it, when we're in another country, respect their tradition. When they come to the U.S., respect our tradition. Simple as that. Don't go to another country and disrespect their tradition. That's their tradition. That's their right to determine who their members are. You know, and I've never been treated funny by any male or female. Okay. So one year, I had members from Romania, from here, and from Lebanon. And a couple of ladies came. The general's wife, she was there, Monica. And then the young lady from Lebanon, she was the secretary, Grand Law Secretary. Sometime for our men's meeting, they at the door with the men. And so one of the guys came to me and said, hey, the lady trying to come in. I said, oh no. I said, I told one of the other grandmasters, go out there and apologize for me. But tell them, we can't let them come in the meeting. So the general asked me, he said, why can't they come in? We're all equal now. I said, they can't come in. And I wasn't going to ask the Grand Masters to let them in. But that goes against. Okay. But I asked the ladies if it was them coming to their meeting, you know, to visit. They didn't. And I really hated that because they missed out something. My purpose was this. These ladies only know Freemasonry. They don't know about the ladies' departments in Freemasonry. That's practice is different in America and some other countries like the Eastern Stars. And I believe that if they had came into that meeting and saw a room full of women, dressed like women, in their regalia, presiding, taking care of their business, that would have made an impression on them. And maybe they would have been interested. Can we learn more about this? I kind of like what I saw. These are all women in here. You see, and that they lost. They miss out on that. But next week on Facebook, oh, they will make all kind of friends. That's you won't let them in your meeting, but you can be friends with them. You see. But like I said, that's unfortunately, you know, that's what happened. We couldn't just let them come in, you know. And maybe one day, you got to change. You know, as we get more and more younger people, mind open up more, get more Masonic educated, travel more, get to see and not just hear or listen. You know, they have blinders on. They're strictly men. But if you've never sat with these ladies and talk with them and see what they do, you might get a different respect for them. And that's what I have for them. I have all the respect in the world for them. I can't let them come in my meeting. Okay, but that's not my call. That's our tradition in America. America, it hasn't opened up to that yet. But maybe one day it will. I can't say when. But right now, I wouldn't want our ladies to be Masons, though. No. We got enough trouble with them at Eastern Stars. We don't need them to be Masons. All right, what's the next one you got there?
Actually, the last question was about the mixed logics recognition composed of women and men. So you answered the question. You foreseen it.
Yeah.
So, Your Excellency, thank you very much for your time, your wisdom. I hope you enjoy your stay in Romania. Our Grand Master Adrian Ashley Twaddle Williams thanks you for this opportunity, and we sincerely welcome you to Romania.
Well, I'm glad to be here. I'm glad I was able to sit and meet with y'all. Maybe next time, I come to Romania quite often. I like coming to Romania. I really do. I always, when the first time I came, when you go to another country, you don't know how it's going to be, how people are going to accept you, all of that. Kind of ask people, how's Romania? They say, oh, it's friendly. People are friendly. I'm like, okay. But I've always enjoyed coming here. Because certain parts of Romania actually is like the U.S. Okay, it's just like being in the U.S. Okay, and that's the city part, like that. And I've had the opportunity to go in the old country, and that's Romania. Because one of the ladies told me once, said, "Oh, you gotta get out the city. You gotta go in the country." I'm an old country boy. I come from the country, so I like the country. And I was up here for one convent, and that's where it was. I just looked out across the fields and the mountains and going to the little eateries, that they had. And that was a beautiful country. And I like that when I go to different countries, seeing the real country. Like I went to Turkey. You go downtown. It's nice. You go to Turkey. You see the ruins that's 1,000 of years old. Or you go to the church, Sophia, that's 1,000 years old. Like that. They got a lot of history over there. And they're still, digging, finding stuff over there. You see. So different countries, I like their cultures. Sicily, they got good ice cream in Sicily. I don't know what, good ice cream. And so different places, different cultures, different. Like people ask me about Italy, I said, well, it depends on what part of Italy you go to. I said, one part of Italy, they feed you pasta you to death. And the last time I went over last year, I was on the seashore. It was all seafood, and I ain't like their seafood. Nothing wrong with the seafood. It's just where they fix it, where they eat, because with us, no. You got fish, you're going to deep fry it. Okay. Ain't nothing going to be wiggling or nothing like that now. So I couldn't get with that. But up to that, though, the things that you see in different places, and the people of Romania are just that. They're friendly. Every place that I've been, and I don't go no place by myself. That I don't do. So when I go to another country, I'm with somebody, unless it's an area where there's, let's say, a store or something, a block or two away from the hotel. That goes off in Paris. It's right down in the tourist section, I would say, stores, stuff like that. So I'm walking with the locals in the stores like that. But like some people just going all out, I don't do that. I stay. Most times somebody will pick me up and take me places. To show me things. Don't go out. They went out as you go. I was leaving the carrier. I had to fly out of Rome. So they took me to Rome, and I left there with the Paris. And I had a 21-hour layover.
Dăm telefon.
1-hour layover. So with the passport control, I asked the guy, I said, look, I said, I'm quite sure y'all have had this before. I said, I have a 21-hour layover. What do you suggest? He said, well, what you want to do? I said, go someplace that's safe. Go to the gate. It's okay. So I got stamped into the country, kept going out, got the next passport control, got stamped out, went to the gate. So I went to the gate, information desk. I asked that person the same question. What you suggest what to do? He said, stay at the gate. Okay. So I came home, people asked me, what did you do? That's why I went out. I stayed at the gate for 21 hours. And you should have went out here in Paris. I said, look, if the people in the airport tell you to stay at the gate, there's a reason. There's a reason they tell you to stay at the gate. They ain't say, go outside, take a shuttle bus, go outside, do this. No, they say, don't go nowhere but stay in the gate. They ain't say go out. For the reason they said don't go out. So that's what I did. I walked the halls, sit here and walk, watch no TV. 21 hours. Yeah, I would have liked to go somewhere. But I'm going to be by myself. Go where? Walk outside the airport.
I think there's nothing great. We should go inside.